Welcome back. It's 20 minutes of reviewing all the good, the bad, and the ridiculous tweets on social media from Preston North End's latest defeat, of course, at Bramall Lane to Sheffield United, including, of course, this one. We're starting off with Paul's statement that apart from the FA Cup game, the season for Preston North End is now dead. It starts to type planning for the summer. We need to clear the deadwood and get some players in. So it's our question to our panel this week is the Preston North End season now over in March? We're also talking about refereeing standards as well for North End. Some very dodgy decisions going against Preston in recent games. And what can be done about it? Is it time for VAR? We're also talking about wages as well. Where do North End feature in terms of the rankings for wages, also reported ones? And who would we love to see up from League One? Is it time to bring Bolton back from League One to get another Northwest derby? We've got the whole team back with us, Ash, Etienne and Harvey. Thank you very much for watching. It's 20 minutes and off we go. Ash, simple question for you, my friend. Is your season now over apart from that Villa game?
Yeah, apart from the FA Cup, it would appear to be over. It kind of went out with a whimper at the weekend there. There's no glitter balls in that performance, whether it was the most drab game you've ever seen in your life. And I think it was quite a good metaphor for the season as a whole. Could have been different, but the referee was ridiculous. So
we'll get on to that in a minute. To be fair, it was a very depleted Preston side, Etienne, wasn't it? And it's just a Swansea result before that as well, and you just think, so many missed opportunities. You've played well in games, and you're not getting playoffs now, aren't we? That's fair to say.
No. Yeah, it feels like the earliest in a while that the delusion of hopefully sneaking to sixth is gone. Look, I'm not usually as critical as most fans, and I watched that Sheffield United game, and it was like I wasn't angry. It was more just disappointment towards the fact that they went 1-0 up, seemingly out of nowhere for them as well. They did miss a big chance at the start, but then we just really didn't seem to want to take our chances. There's one particular moment that I don't think is being talked about enough where all Hughes had to do was head it to Reece, and Reece would have had a tap in. And it's like, it drives you up the wall sometimes just how not urgent we are. It was the same in the Swansea game. We just seemed to watch a 0-0 just come our way instead of trying to take these chances. And you just, apart from this Villa game, where to be fair, we've done excellently in the Cup despite an easy run, the season's over because we just don't seem to be taking those chances.
There's some social media takes that were very positive and said, look, what do you expect? We did as good as we could. Others, Harvey, were a little bit more harsh. Michael said it was Doug Poo, second best to everything, desperately missing Madsen as Majric. McCann too, even though he's been having a few average games onto a tough Sunderland, I guess. Was it as bad as what Michael says there, Harvey, or we've been a bit harsh?
No, I think it was. It was, like Ash said, it was probably just one of the most drab games you'll ever watch, to be honest. I think Sheffield United got everything they deserved. I think they walked all over us from minute one, really. But I think for me, it was another week of Preston trying to get into a game way too late. I didn't feel like we offered much, if at all anything, until like the 70th minute. And like Etienne said, you kind of just boggle in your own mind, wondering like when it's going to change or when the attitude's going to change to try and attack a game a lot earlier. But yeah, I was really disappointed at the fact that we made a game that you could have took Sheffield United as good as they are, and we just made it way too easy for them.
Yeah. Cheers for that, Harvey. A quick word on the Swansea game. I mean, God, if Sheffield United was drab, I don't know how we describe this one, Ash. Interesting, the atmosphere, because following the Burnley game, we expected Deepdale to be back, and it's, with some numbers, but Ingle White says, this is the Deepdale I remember, flat, miserable, and lifeless. We are so back. Anything to report from the Swansea game at all, other than it happened?
When he says he remembers the atmosphere, does he mean from the previous week? Because it's pretty much like that every week, as far as I can remember. There's maybe one game a season where we're up for it. But yeah, I don't actually remember much of that game, and I watched it all. So nothing happened, did it? There's literally nothing to that game. It's a tough one to dissect, because if I hadn't watched it and I'd have spent the time doing something more productive, I probably would have spent the time a lot better. So what can you do?
All right. So we're all happy the season's, well, not happy, but we're all in agreement the season is now over. And there's hoping that we could have had a bit of a swan song with Preston. But there's always one team that goes on a late charge. You never know. And some easier games to come. But right, refereeing then. So it's not the first time we've talking about this season, but it does seem to be, and I was talking to the whole city about this as well because they've been on the wrong end of it as well. But it seems to be the away sides don't get any rub of the green, especially when you're up against a side which is up there. And I've got a theory that some referees are too frightened of some of the home managers sometimes, and they don't want to upset them. Hull had this against some managers. I think you had this a little bit with Wilder on Saturday. Do you agree with my theory at all?
Yeah, no, I feel like that pattern comes out in a lot of championship games, and I am not accusing any referee of anything, but it always seems to come out against these big teams where you don't get decisions go your way. I mean, Turf Moor was the most ridiculous offside decision I've ever seen in my life. Obvious goal, probably would have changed Reece's season, and no, we get a 0-0 draw and Burnley get away with it again. So I did watch back the penalty claim, and I'm not as sold now, to be fair, that I was during the game. I think it's contentious. I think there's an argument that it is a penalty, but there's also a solid argument that it isn't, because Potts does not control that ball well. So, but I agree. I think, especially because the man that Chris Wilder is and the atmosphere that you can get at Bramall Lane, some referees might just not want to experience that, abuse that will surely come their way, but that is not something that we should have to pay for. The referees should be able and should be trained to deal with that pressure. If they've got a decision in the spur of the moment, if you've got any reasonable doubt that it's penalty, award the penalty. Cheers for that. We'll never prove this, Harvey, as well, but it's easier not to give a decision against Preston, isn't it, than it is against a Burnley or a Sheffield United, because it's Preston.
I get where you're coming from, but I don't think that should matter. Like, I think no matter who you are or what team you play, I think you've got to be the same the entire way. I think refereeing is all about consistency for me. I think if you're going to give one thing, if that thing then happens that's very similar or exactly the same half an hour later, you've got to give it. You can't then give one or the other or none at all. But I do agree with this idea that sometimes it is like the bigger teams in favour in terms of referees, because I feel like a lot of them are scared, which is just bizarre. But I think we've said it for months on end, like the lack of, like, how poor referees are is quite worrying. The standards, I think they just seem to fall more and more every season. And obviously I think we've been on the end of a lot of decisions like that, and it's, I think if you might go back to every one of them decisions and change it, you might end up being in a completely different position this season.
This is it. You've had the Bristol City handball, you've had the offside in Burnley, you've had the penalty this weekend. We could list 10, couldn't we? Now, Ash, before you answer this, bearing in mind that VAR will be at Deepdale, we hear, for the Villa game, would you want VAR in the Championship next season?
No, I still don't want it. I think not. I think having it gets rid of all the talking points. I think there's a lot less interest and a lot less debate about things now, because it is just, there are no, if the ref in the Premier League makes a mistake, the VAR corrects it. There's nothing to get mad about. There's nothing to think you've got lucky about. And I do think if we'd had it this season, we'd probably have quite a few more points, because some of the decisions that have gone against us have been nothing short of dreadful. But at the same time, I think it makes the game boring. I don't want to be sat for 5 minutes after a goal just finding out whether I can celebrate it or not. And even worse is celebrating one that then gets cancelled out and all the away fans taking a mix. So I'm just not a fan of that. But I'm maybe a bit more in favour if it was a bit of a quicker process. I don't know if any of you saw that there was a Sidemen game on, which is ridiculous to compare it to, but they didn't have the whole VAR set up. The ref just looked at the screen, and if he can do it that quick, just looking at the screen, and he made the right decisions, there's got to be some kind of compromise in between what we have and what's been done there. That means you can get really quick decisions made. and it just improves that process, because right now the way it's working, we're probably the worst league in the world for, well, the Premier League, sorry, is probably the worst in the world for VAR decisions.
Yeah, and there's many Premier League fans that say it's killed atmospheres in the Premier League stadiums as well. All right then, thank you very much for that. Yeah, 2 games this week, Etienne. What are you hopeful for in terms of a points return before we chat again?
My man's gone blank to who we're playing on Saturday. Who are we playing? This is going to seem really bad.
You are at home against Portsmouth, I believe.
Sorry, that is a complete mind slip. I had Sunderland in my head.
I was about to think about being a great sports journalist then, right? What does it? Yeah, cheers for that. Cheers for that, everyone. Right, 2 big games then this week. Etienne, how many points do you expect to be returned from these 2?
So I think we're going to get none in the Sunderland game, especially considering the Sheffield United game. I think Sunderland are having like a slight wobble at the moment, and they seem to be doing some really weird squad rotation. I mean, stop dropping Dennis Sirkin. I mean, we might get lucky there, but yeah, I don't see us picking up a result. Stadium of Light is a really hard place to go, and the only team we've beaten, who is Hull, needed something lucky to get a result there. So yeah, and then the game I definitely didn't forget about, which was Portsmouth at home. We've got to go and overturn them. And I said this about Swansea though, like we've got to get a result. They beat Leeds at Fratton Park, but Fratton Park is a completely different atmosphere to what they're going to experience at Deepdale. In the fact that it's completely up north, not a lot of fans will be going. We've got to be seeing a 2 or 3-0 result there.
Yeah. Harvey, is there a danger now that some players might have the flip-flops on?
Yeah, there probably could be a chance of that. I think we're kind of at a standstill at the moment anyway, just because if there's any time for North End to get a lot of injuries, it's now, which is obviously what's happened. Obviously, you've got players like Whiteman coming back, which is really good timing considering McCann might be out for a while now. I don't know when Mads is returning, but hopefully it's soon. But I can, I think we've already established that the league season is over. Obviously, I'd still like to go to games like Portsmouth and do what is expected, which is get 3 points, just you're not slowly slipping further and further down the table with the results around you. But I think as long as every single player is in the mentality that you can still get something this season by going on a really good cup run, I think a lot of it's got to be you've got to take the game to Villa, and I think that's got to be the main aim now for this season. But I wouldn't be too worried in terms of league results for the rest of the season now.
Okay. All right then. Finally, this week we've been talking to all our clubs about wages and where each club features in terms of reported wage charts. This has been produced by Salary Sport, which is a pretty reputable organisation in terms of sports finances. Ash, they reckon that Preston are paying you're just below mid-table in terms of wages, about 12-13 million. Obviously, we haven't got the accounts to verify this just yet, but does that sound about right to you? Does that sound too high or low?
I thought we would probably be a bit lower than that, to be honest. I'm not sure. I guess it depends. I guess it depends on the couple of the bigger earners, maybe, and also that might take into account the new deals that have been signed this season. You would imagine those players have had even if it's a slight rise, I would explain it going up. I'm quite surprised that Coventry are below us there. I thought they would be, some of the players they've got, I thought they'd be significantly higher. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's about right. And again, we're mid-table, which is just normal, isn't it?
Yeah, okay. The highest earner then, any ideas who it would be? Obviously, take away the loans.
Freddie Woodman, I guess.
It is Freddie Woodman, yeah. Obviously, we don't know how much of Greenwood's loan and Megoma's loan you're paying off. But yeah, any surprises on there? I mean, these are not obviously confirmed, so this is just research done by these financial organisations. Etienne, any surprises on there?
Not really. I was expecting to see it probably won't include it, but yeah, Pockles, I know we were paying a significant wage there. It's good to get that off the books now. I'm surprised if we're paying any more than 20 grand for Greenwood. I don't think we should be paying that. And if that's the wage we're looking at to sign him permanently, I think I'll just pass upon that deal. But I'm looking at Ken Kesler-Hayden as well, because he plays like a player with a 15k wage, 20k wage at times. If that's what it's going to take to sign him on, I'd lob 2-3 million at that transfer immediately.
Okay. Harvey?
I'm not gonna lie, I thought, given how long he's been at the club, I thought Ben Whiteman might have been on this list, especially as the captain as well. I think you'd presume him to be on a bit of a higher wage, or at least somewhere in that list. So that's my main shock. I didn't think Lindsay would be that high either, considering now obviously like the new players have come in. I thought maybe he kind of drops down, but again, he's been at the club for a while, so I can see that. But yeah, Whiteman's the biggest shock for me.
Yeah, okay. Before you all start going crazy in the comments, these are only just reported comments as well. Right then, the final one this week is we are asking all our teams which team from League One you'd love to see back in the Championship, given we think now Preston are definitely going to be there. The obvious one to ask you, Ash, is about Bolton, who are on a bit of a run at the moment, and whether you'd like a few more Northwest teams coming up. It's not particularly a derby, Bolton, Preston, is it? But would you like that?
Yeah, I'd really like that. I think they're a great club, to be honest. I don't like to tell their fans that, but it's not a typical derby, but it is one for me because we lost the playoff final 2001, and I started at school in Bolton that year in secondary school, so I just got shredded for like the whole of the first year of school. But I'd like to see them come up. I think it's obvious that Birmingham are going to come up. If you were to think they're not coming up, you'd have to be really thick, because they're just so far ahead. And then I want to see Wrexham come up because I'm probably not the same as most people, but I actually quite like the idea of the fairy tale for them getting to the Premier League. I quite like the way the owners have gone about things as well. But yeah, that Bolton game is local. I think we get maybe 6,000 or 7,000 in their away end, and that's some day out. So yeah, and it's not local for me anymore, but it was local. So it's quite easy to travel to.
Mm-hmm. Etienne, they are 12 points off the current sixth place aid, but Blackpool could go on a good run. It's not going to happen likely, but just out of interest, would you love to have them back up here and have some football banter going on?
No. Well,
Okay.
I mean, it comes to whether you want a true rival. You obviously want to play them, and you obviously want to batter them all the time, but you can't have that without them getting relegated. And right now, I'd rather us get into a stronger position for them to come up, and then we can beat them 7-0 home and away. So if they can have a few more seasons in mediocrity, come up, dream again, and then we can put them back in their place. That'd be brilliant.
Okay. I thought you might say that. Let's have a look then at the teams that could actually come up then. Birmingham are already there. So Harvey, which other team would you like to see up and why?
I'm torn between two. I'm torn between Huddersfield because it's just a brilliant away day, and I think every time we go there we batter them. So that would be nice. But I think the main one for me is Bolton. I have a massive soft spot for them because they were my first ever away day that my dad took me on when I was 14. And we beat them 3-1 after Sean Maguire come back from injury and scored 2. So that was a really good day for me. And I think I've quite liked them ever since. I think they've just got like a good set of fans, and like Ash said, it is quite local, so it's always quite close to get to. But I also wouldn't mind Stockport just because I think it's just another addition to the league. And I've also got a Stockport fan in my uni course. It'd just be nice if we beat them, and then I get to give it something. So.
Okay. Etienne, who would you want to see?
Yeah, I had Huddersfield first as well. I love going away there. A load of my mates actually support Huddersfield, weirdly. I've got like 5 mates to support him. So, I've become fond. They gave us Dwayne Holmes for minimal fee as well, and he's been fantastic for us. that it's a good club, you know, esteemed in football culture. I think maybe they should be in the Championship, and they're just crying out for some stability. I don't think they'll come up this season, but I'd love them to come up. And then, Bolton as well, just because of the locality in the derby.
Okay. And actually, you don't mind this Wrexham story, no?
I quite like it. Yeah, I quite like it. I haven't really watched the series. I don't get time for none of that. But yeah, I quite like just the way they've gone about it and the way they kind of ingrained, and the owners have ingrained themselves in the town. I don't know if it's a town or a city. I assume it's a city, right?
Yes,
I'm not
it's
sure.
Wrexham. Yeah,
the Wrexham town. I don't know, but they've really made the effort. They've tried to make it into a proper club and build it back to what it could have been. The only one I really don't want coming up is Reading, because they are the most boring football club in the country, and that away day is a long way away, and it's dead silent from them the whole time. And it'd be nice to see them not go completely bust, but that's about all I'm bothered about for them.
Okay. You are aware that a rival podcast station declared Preston as the most boring club.
We don't talk about them, do we?
No, definitely not. No, we don't.
And they're wrong anyway. They're wrong.
Absolutely. They are, yeah, absolutely.
We're very consistent. It's consistently average, but it is very consistent, nevertheless.
Absolutely. Right. Join us then next week as we review both, of course, the Portsmouth game and the Sunderland game. We're also talking about players out of contract as well, as we start to look ahead to the end of the season. My goodness, 8 games to go. International break coming up as well. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for your love and your comments. Do drop us a like and a subscribe if you haven't yet done so. And we'll see you in 7 days' time. Yeah, have a good one.